All right, today we're tackling something that's so core to our lives we barely even think to question it the family. But what happens when we find out that the picture of family we all have in our heads might be more of a myth than a reality?
You know the image I'm talking about, right? That picture-perfect ideal of family life, always smiling, always harmonious. But if you actually pull back that curtain, the evidence tells a much more complicated, messy, and honestly, a way more interesting story. And that really gets us to the heart of it, doesn't it? In our world today, a world that's changing by the minute, what actually makes a family? Is it about blood? Is it a piece of paper from the government? Or is it something else entirely?
Okay, so to figure out where we're going, we've got to look at where we've been. You hear people talk all the time about some golden age of the family, right? Some perfect time in the past when everything was just simpler. Well, spoiler alert, that golden age never really existed. Let's dig into this, because this is a huge deal. The whole idea of marrying for love, that's actually pretty new. For most of human history, just like the historian John Boswell says here, marriage was a practical contract. It was about property, power, and having kids to work the land. Love wasn't the starting point. It was maybe, if you were lucky, a bonus at the end. And this brings us to the 1950s, which we love to put on a pedestal. We picture that perfect suburban scene, the male breadwinner, the happy homemaker. But underneath that glossy surface, the reality for millions of people was one of quiet frustration, deep isolation, and even violence that nobody ever spoke about. In fact, this feeling of deep unhappiness among women who felt trapped in their homes was so common but so unspoken that writer Betty Friedan famously gave it a name: the problem with no name. It was this quiet crisis happening behind closed doors all across the country. So you might be asking, where did this perfect picture even come from? Well, for a long time, early sociology basically described the family as this flawless little unit that just worked. But in doing so, they were missing a huge piece of the puzzle: power. So the biggest theory for a while came from a sociologist named Talcott Parsons. His functionalist view was that the nuclear family, working dad, stay-at-home mom, was the perfect setup for modern industrial society. For him, it wasn't just one way to have a family. It was the essential foundation for a healthy society. But then, a wave of feminist critics came along and just blew that whole idea apart. They said, wait a minute, this so-called safe haven can also be a site of exploitation. They shined a light on all the unpaid housework, that famous second shift that women work when they get home from their actual jobs, and they exposed the dark side of power imbalances and abuse. And hey, this isn't just some old theory. The numbers back it up in a big way. Look at this. A 2018 study shows that women still do about 70% of the housework. Even with all the progress we've made, that gap just doesn't seem to close. And sometimes, the dark side is much, much darker than who does the dishes. 137. Just let that number sink in. According to the UN, that's how many women and girls around the world are killed by a member of their own family every single day. It's a shocking reminder that for way too many people, home is the most dangerous place they could be. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the old school one-size-fits-all model of the family is completely broken. It just doesn't fit the real world. And that's why sociologists have totally changed their game. They've stopped asking what a family should be and started looking at what families actually do. And this new way of looking at things is called family practices. The idea is pretty simple. Stop worrying about the label and look at the actions. It's not about the marriage certificate. It's about the everyday stuff. Making dinner together, helping with homework, taking care of someone who's sick, just being there. It's all about the doing of family. And you can see this incredible diversity in the numbers. I mean, just look at this data from England and Wales. The way people form households varies so much across different cultural groups. There's no single normal anymore. It's clear, concrete proof that there are countless ways to do family. Okay, so it's not just about who lives under one roof. The changes run way deeper than that. They're getting to the very core of our relationships. The nature of love itself is being completely rewritten as we speak.
There's this fascinating idea from sociologist Anthony Giddens. He says we're moving from romantic love, the whole one true love forever fairy tale, to something he calls confluent love. Think of it as an active partnership, one that lasts only as long as it's making both people happy and fulfilled. It's not love for forever, it's love until further notice. Another thinker, Zygmunt Bauman, takes this a step further with his concept of liquid love. He argues that in our fast paced world, our relationships are becoming more fluid, maybe even disposable. We might prefer having lots of light connections instead of one deep, lasting commitment. It gives us a ton of freedom, for sure, but it can also leave us feeling pretty adrift and insecure.
And all of this leads us with a really big question to chew on. In this new world of liquid love, when all those traditional ties are looser than ever, what's going to hold us together? What bonds with our friends, with our chosen families, with our communities are going to be the ones that really anchor us? That's something we are all figuring out together right now.